I think this is the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things I've seen them do.
Tell me how you really feel.
I just don't understand it. So we found out that park hopping restriction that is currently you cannot, go to a different park. If you have park hopper, you can't go till after 2:00 will stay through 2024.
Yeah. So we were hoping that with the changing to needing theme park reservations would change that the park hopping would just be dissolved. Like you could still park hop, it'd be after 2 now, but we were hoping it would be like, okay, let's get rid of it altogether, or maybe at least change the hour that you could park hop. So it's still 2 p.m. or later. Disneyland, we had this discussion on Club 32 last night. Disneyland, it's 11 a.m. Can we just move it? Can we just move it a little bit? If we're going to keep those park reservations, if we're going to keep the park hopping restrictions, can the restrictions just start at like noon?
Right.
Like that is my thing. And I know it's a huge point of contention for Disney fans. And like, I feel like Disney's going through all these things that fans have had a problem with or guests have a problem with, and they're slowly addressing them. But this one, they just really want to hang on to it. They just really
this one in the park reservation system. I'm telling you, they're just gonna just finger by finger. They don't want to let it go.
They don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
So, because we actually, I think a couple weeks back we were talking about like, okay, are they going to get rid of park hopping? Well, no, it's still here. So again, there are many months in between here and 2024. So a lot of things could change, but that is just what Disney has said. And they just basically said, beginning January 9th, 2024, theme park reservations will no longer be required for date-based tickets. After guests enter the first park, guests will be able to visit the next park starting at 2 until each park's regularly scheduled closure. So that's official.
I think this is the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things I've seen them do.
Tell me how you really feel.
I just don't understand it. Like, I know we've talked about it, and it's annoying to say the least. Like a lot of things, the park reservation system is a hassle. Mm-hmm. For instance, when we were there on, I'm losing track of which day, it was a Saturday.
It was Saturday.
We were going to go to Epcot, and we were just like, oh, let's switch it over to Hollywood Studios because we're going to go to Skyliner there. So we had to pull over, change the reservations, and do all this stuff like that. And then we literally go into the park and leave immediately so that we can end up being able to go over to Epcot later.
Because you have to scan in, even if you don't, do anything. You still have to scan in before you can hop over.
Right.
Silly.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense. I know the reasons they want to keep it, because they want to be able to, I'm sure they save tons of money on staffing and all these things like that. But this is going to be one of those things that they're going to be forced to get rid of it. And it's one of these things where they've created a unique selling position for their competitors with these things. The only people that have changed is Disney. So, for instance, we want to like when we were going into Orlando, we're like, hey, let's stop by Universal just to go check out the tribute store because it's Jurassic Park themed. Guess what we had to do? Just show up and go. That was it. We didn't have to make a park reservation. We didn't have to do anything. We just parked. We went. We were there for 45 minutes and we left. Mm-hmm. It was super simple.
Yep.
And then you go over to Disney and it's all this extra hassle. And eventually, like, you run the risk of when you do these things. Disney has the market share to do it. Absolutely. No doubt. They still have demand there. And I'm not saying that they don't. What I'm saying is you run the risk of people eventually, like, you keep, people want these things back and you don't give it to them. And then eventually when you go, okay, we can have them back. And then you run the risk of at some point people just go, oh, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from the contention, like we had a what do you want to call it, TikTok reel kind of go a little viral where we were talking about a few weeks ago with the whole what used to be free and what wasn't. And the comments are just full of people talking about all these things. And it's not people that hate Disney. It's people that have gone to Disney. There's like, you used to go to Disney 4 times a year, 5 times a year, and you'd hear different things, but a lot of people talking about the restrictions on the park reservation system and the park hopping. And it's just all these restrictions when you just want to go on a vacation. Mm-hmm. You just want to go and enjoy yourself. And you're stuck with, you can't do this because you don't have a reservation. You can't hop over here till 2 o'clock. You can't. So it's all these rules. And other than them just wanting to be able to control where you go, there's no reason as to why this is there. This started with COVID. The whole reason the park reservation system was even put in place is because it was supposed to limit the amount of people that could be in a park because they didn't want to be overcrowded. But if you were in the parks during this time, if your argument that you were going to keep people safe from getting sick, that was laughable because you're walking around people constantly and bumping shoulders and everything. So the fact that this is even still around going into 2024, so 4 years later, is, I'm just going to say, it's just asinine. It really is. And they have the market share to do it. There's still demand, but I'm just saying, as time goes on, this is not going, I think this will just age badly. I think it'll just be one of those things where as their competition is increasingly getting stronger, and they, Universal doesn't have any of these sort of restrictions. And what I know, people, you bring up Universal and people get very contentious and think it's whatever. I'm just saying, Universal not doing it and being a good competition, if you want Disney to drop this stuff, that's good, because Disney eventually will do to competition. So, I mean, this is nothing that we haven't said before. It's just, I was shocked to see that they, going into 24, they're even keeping it whenever they're not going to require theme park reservations. So, like, what's even the point? Like, this one I don't get. What's even the point of it? Other than they just have this, they want to exert control over people. And again, I'm shocked because I really thought Iger would get rid of all this because this was all deemed a Chapek thing.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't yet. So.
And if you really wanted to win people back over, they'd just be like, Iger came in and wiped out all the bad Chapek stuff. But here they are defending it and wanting to keep it, which means they probably had this internally for a while wanting to do it. And this gave them the opportunity to do it. They're not going to let it go anytime soon.
Yeah. Perhaps.
All right. I'm not going to rant about it anymore.
Okay.
Just silly. Anyways.